Guys, if you've used Pornhub before, you really need to watch this.
How did your war against Pornhub start?
Sure. I will tell you that story.
Okay.
So in the context of years in the fight against sex trafficking, so I had been fighting sex trafficking when this began. So this began at the start of 2020. This was February 2020 when the fight to hold Pornhub accountable for rape, sex trafficking, child abuse began. And that was in the context of over a decade in the fight against trafficking at that point. And I had been paying attention to the headlines, obviously, when sexual abuse stories, trafficking stories came up. I was paying attention. And one of the stories that came up at late 2019 that really arrested my attention, it was a story of a 15-year-old girl, and she was from Broward County, Florida. And she was missing for an entire year, and she was finally found when her distraught mother was tipped off by a Pornhub user that he recognized her daughter on the site.
Wow.
And she was found in 58 videos being abused for profit. These are monetized videos. Police, were dispatched, and they actually rescued her out of his apartment. She had been impregnated. They got her out of that situation. But that was a story that had made some headlines, and it was a horrifying story. At the same time, there was an investigation that was released by the Sunday Times, the London Sunday Times, and they had found dozens of illegal videos on Pornhub within minutes, even children as young as 3. So these two particular stories were standing out. There was one other that was really horrifying at the time. It was about an adult, a woman named Nicole Adamando, and she was from New York. And she was being abused by her partner. She was being raped and tortured. He was filming it and he was uploading it to Pornhub, and then she ended up killing him in self-defense, but she was sentenced to life in prison, separated from her 2 young children. And thankfully, she had an amazing legal team, and they fought that, and they got it reduced to 7 years, and she's finally out today.
Wow.
But it was just a heartbreaking story. And so at the time, I was really actually discouraged in my fight against trafficking. I had been doing it for a long time. I felt like we weren't making very much progress, but, it's not something that I can quit because I'm dedicated to this. But I was up late one night in early 2020. I think it was, January 31st, 2020. And I was consoling my own crying baby at that time because he was born, he had a birth complication. He was a very mad baby.
What do you mean? Oh, crying baby.
Yeah, crying baby.
Okay.
Yeah, he was up, I was up at all hours of the night.
I thought you said crime baby. I was like, oh, what is a crime baby?
No, crying baby.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I was up late consoling him and thinking about that story of the 15-year-old girl. And suddenly, an idea came to mind. I just said, you know what? How are they vetting these videos? How is this abuse ending up on Pornhub? And an idea just flashed into mind. I said, I'm going to test the upload system for myself, and I'm going to see what does it take to upload content to Pornhub. So put the baby down, got out my phone, took a video of the computer screen and the rug in the dark room, and I uploaded it to Pornhub, and I found out what millions of people already knew. Because at that time, millions of videos were being uploaded every year. In fact, the amount of content that was being uploaded to Pornhub, if you put those videos back to back, just the amount of content they would upload in 1 year, it would take 169 years to watch if you put those videos back to back. That's how much content was being uploaded.
Had been uploaded total, you mean?
No, per year.
Wow.
Yes. That's not even counting the images.
Unbelievable.
So I tested I found out, like I said, what millions of people already knew, and that was that all it took to upload was an email address. So in under 10 minutes, anybody with an iPhone, anywhere in the world, can upload a video, and they were not checking age, they were not checking ID to make sure that these are not children in the videos. They're not verifying consent to make sure that these are not rape or trafficking victims. And because of that, I quickly understood that Pornhub was not a porn site. It was a crime scene. Like, it was infested with videos of real sexual crime.
What were some of the crimes that you saw happening? What were some specific instances that you were like, oh my God, this is just...
Yeah, I mean, okay.
Is it okay to share those or no?
Yeah, of course. And I think it's important to share because I think a lot of times people want to just dismiss it and say, what you saw was just consensual. You just didn't really understand that it was, these were obvious.
Yeah, it's vague
crimes.
until you make it specific, I feel like, a lot of times.
So, for example, And I'll tell you some, I can tell you some victim stories. I can tell you some of the things that I saw myself on the site. I mean, one of the worst things that I saw on the site was an instance where it was a young Asian woman, and she was drugged so completely that her body was completely limp. She was unconscious, and there was a masked assailant who actually, to prove to the camera that she was unconscious, he was lifting her eyelids and touching her eyeballs to prove that she wasn't responsive, and then tickling her feet and doing things like that. And then the title was in Chinese. And so what I did was I took the title and I put it into Google Translate, and the title was Dead Pig Unconscious After Being Drugged. And it included eyes half open after being drugged. Like, that was the actual title of the video. And then, of course, because there's the algorithm, right? They have set up the algorithm to make sure if you see one video like that, they're going to assume that you like that content. So then they're going to take you on a crazy rabbit hole. I call it just hellhole of rape. Like, that's what it was. And then you go and they'll show you more and more of the same kind of thing,
And so then the people would upload them and then make money off of advertising on them somehow, or who?
Yes, yeah. So the ones that were making money off of this content, because this is free porn, right?
Right.
Free porn's not free, right? It is heavily monetized with ads. So they were selling 4.6 billion ad impressions on Pornhub every single day. So they were heavily monetizing this content. Now, the people who were uploading were doing it mostly for free. Like, right. 80% of people who are uploading were just doing it for social currency, like likes and clicks and comments and shares and all of that. The reason why people upload to social media.
Right.
Some of them were doing pay to download content where they could actually do profit sharing with Pornhub. That was happening as well. But most of the money made from free porn is actually made by the corporation running the site, right? Okay. So by the end of December 2020, so they had grown to be the 5th most visited website in the entire world. So not just porn site, website. Jeez. They had 170 million visits per day, 62 billion visits per year. And like I said, enough content uploaded every year would take 169 years to watch. So they had 56 million pieces of content on the site by the end of 2020. And this was the year that trafficking hub movement began. So go back to the story. So I made this discovery.
Oh my God.
And I said,
massive.
I literally said what you just said. Oh my God. This site is infested with videos of rape, trafficking, non-consensual content. We used to call it revenge porn, but we call it image-based sexual abuse. And I have to sound the alarm on this. I have to, tell people what's going on. And so I did, the only thing that I could do at the time was I took to it was Twitter, right? At the time, Twitter. And I started to share this information, share the stories, share the what I discovered about the upload process. And in a burst of inspiration, I shared the hashtag trafficking hub. Per definition, so by definition, any sex act that is commercialized and it's involving a child, or any sex act that's induced by force, fraud, or coercion, and it's commercialized, so it's for profit, like it's something of value is exchanged for that sex act, it is per definition an act of trafficking. So every child being abused on Pornhub, every adult who was non-consenting, who was raped and trafficked, those are instances of trafficking. I don't think people quite understand that, but that is per international definition and domestic definition. And so that's why I launched the Trafficking Hub hashtag. And it slowly started to catch on. I had a few thousand followers on Twitter at the time, but people were horrified to find this out.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think when you hear trafficking, you kind of think I picture literally like a train, like people commandeered from other countries, or, I guess younger people that have commandeered and kidnapped in like a train car going across the country in the night or something. Like, I think of it as a more, or like people like being smuggled across the border, or, I don't think of it as, I guess the average person doesn't think of it in such a common kind of, I don't know if it's common is the word. I guess yeah, the average person probably doesn't think of that it's that expansive.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Well, that's the way it's portrayed in Hollywood movies. And that's the way that it happens often, right? Sometimes. But, the amount of trafficking going on, if you think about non-consensual commercialized sex acts, this is massive.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah. We found out that they only had one person. So they had 1,800 employees. They hired one person 5 days a week to be reviewing videos flagged by users as terms of service violations, including rape and trafficking and child abuse. One person. They had a policy where they wouldn't even review a video unless it was flagged 15 times. Wow. Now, think about this. You're a victim. Say there's a child victim like Serena. She would have to flag her video over 15 times because it had to be over 15 for it to be reviewed in order for that to even be put in queue for review. And they had a backlog of 706,000 videos.
That were just waiting for this one person to review them?
Yes. And they had, like we've discovered now in a recent filing in December of 2024, we found out specific instances of prepubescent child victims who had their videos on there for years, and they would have like 14 flags, 13 flags. And they just that was the policy. And then the CEO and the executives.
All of this on Pornhub.
Yes. Yes. On Pornhub. Yes. And so I'm just grateful that we're having this conversation because I bet most of the people who are listening to your show had no idea.
Yeah.
That this was happening, that it's ever happened, that this is an issue on user-generated free porn sites. And
they keep it up because it's content, right? Like you're saying, the more content.
Yes. Content is king.
Right.
They don't want to remove content because that's how they have inventory. So here's another egregious example of how they did this was, there's one case that I talk about in my book where there was a case of a clearly prepubescent child who is being anally raped in a video, and she is being tortured. The tags on the video, so the titles and tags were describing her abuse, that she was young, that she was being tortured, all of this. And we reported the video. We tried to get it down. Weeks go by. It's not coming down. Video view counts going up, up, up. We reach out to the FBI. They demand that it comes down. So they connect with the National Center on Missing and Exploited Children, who confirms this is a child. So they demanded the video come down. Okay. And then what they did was they took the video down, but they left that black box up that said removed at the request of the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. And they left the URL live, the tags, the titles, the views, all of that. And they did that with so many videos. Why would they take the video down but leave all of that up? And it's because it's inventory. It's the URL.
It still shows like an ad company that they're going to sell to. It still says, well, we have this many videos.
So you could search that,
we have
right?
the most videos.
Yeah, the tags, the titles, they'll still come up in Google search. Then you'll get to the site. You won't find that particular video, but the algorithm will then direct you to others that are similar, and it will advertise to you, right? You'll get those ad views. The videos that are on Pornhub right now are still unverified, mostly unverified. So that 5.2 million left, they had verified the uploaders, right? But not the individuals in the videos. So that doesn't work because often the abuser is the uploader. And I'll give you an example. So there's a man named Rocky Shea Franklin out of Alabama, and he drugged and he overpowered and he raped a 12-year-old boy. And he filmed those assaults and he uploaded 23 of those videos to Pornhub with titles that indicated this was abuse. Like young, it said like Uncle Secret. I mean, I won't say the worst things, but it was clear, right? He was put in prison for 40 years for what he did. Police reached out multiple times to Pornhub to try to get those videos down. They were ignored for 7 months. Those videos stayed online getting hundreds of thousands of views. That boy is suing Pornhub today. So he's one of those many victims suing Pornhub. But Rocky was a verified uploader. He had shown his ID
Right.
and
They know who he is.
They know who he is, but they didn't verify clearly, right? Like who's in the video, right? So even today, as of 2024, Pornhub had to produce a report. They sent it into the European, there's a European law called the Digital Services Act. And in 2024, in 4.5 months, they had to take down 3,770 child sexual abuse videos from the site and over 8,000 non-consensual and rape videos from the site. Okay.
But they're having to be legally asked to do this, right?
Yeah. Well, to disclose what they're doing. And today, so we found out they kept deleting content, right? So today they have actually deleted 91% of the entire site. So they went from 56 million pieces of content in 2020 when this started to 5.2 million pieces of content today. And we're not done because they still have unverified content on the site.
Right.
So yeah, fight's
Wow,
not over yet.
congratulations.
But
What's fast? I mean, congratulations.
what's important is victims receive the justice they need for healing and to be a deterrent to future abusers. Like one of the most important things in the fight against trafficking is not just to rescue victims, right? And to rehabilitate them. That's important, but to prevent it from happening in the future. And how do you prevent it? You have to increase risk and eliminate profitability. You have to make the risk of continued exploitation greater than the benefit that these executives get by maintaining the status quo.
I love that he said congratulations, sorry to interrupt, and she just went right on because she's just all about saving these people. I mean, this is just incredible.
And then when you do that and you end impunity for these abusers, you become a deterrent to future abusers. Because
Okay, explain that little part to me again.
So you want to hold these companies fully accountable to the full extent of the law. To me, that means Pornhub gets shut down. Like we go from 91% to 100%. They do not exist anymore because they have been destroying the lives of countless victims since 2007 when they came online.
Yeah.
And when that happens, other websites owned by other executives will say, we don't want to end up in that position.
Right, it's not
so
worth
let's
it.
just clean ourselves up because we can make a lot of money on legal content.
Right.
We don't have to monetize illegal content. We can do this in a way where we're not distributing sexual crime. And they'll do that because they want to avoid losing the credit card companies. They want to avoid litigation. They want to avoid criminal
Just greed at a certain point is some type of
It's
obviously
risk.
sick.
It's risk benefit, right?
But a sickness too, to
Yeah.
think that you would be able to know that that's happening, right?
Right.
And keep going. That's
Yeah.
it's like what type of sickness exists? I mean, it's almost like a hell. You're like a slave trader of people's like solitude and peace, But no, I don't know. I just can't imagine that. I can't fathom that someone would be like, yeah, this is okay. I'm not going to, that's not going to be the first thing I'm going to worry about with my company, right?
Yeah. And actually, as of September of 2024, Pornhub, after being criminally charged, right, and have this monitor over their site, they're finally saying that we're going to start verifying the age and consent of those who are in the videos as of September of 2024. However, they still have millions of videos that were uploaded prior to that time that they don't know.
That they don't know.
Guys, this is it's a hard talk to have. I mean, the truth is we can't play the mental gymnastics game around justifying using porn, even if it's free. Oh, I didn't pay any money. I didn't spend any money on porn. Well, shit, the free stuff is probably the worst stuff. It's hard. It's hard to face this. It's brutal. I mean, how many times have we been to that site? How many times have we seen things where we knew in our heart that something was really off and this was really wrong? But then again, like they said, well, it's on the internet. They probably vet this stuff. That person just looks really young, but they're probably older. No. And then how many of us have seen content and then gotten picked up by that algorithm she talked about that Laila mentioned, where then we're now being shown even more of that. You see something new and it's shocking, it's disturbing, brings up that sick pit in your stomach, and you're like, oh my gosh, what the hell did I just watch? And then bam, 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 bam. You just start getting fed it. And the shock and the anxiety that it drives up, the insane things it drives up arousal. And it makes you go back, and then you're being fed more of it. This is how this stuff continues, guys. And all of a sudden we're down a rabbit hole, and we're like, I never in a million years thought that I'd be watching this. But here I am. If that's you, you're not alone. And just know that there is help. And if content like this is helpful, click like and subscribe, because I'm going to be giving you more and more help for overcoming this beast. There's a link below the video if you're done with this right now and you need help, and you know you need help, and you've been desperate for help. Click the link below the video. I have a training there that's free that'll help you understand how to overcome these urges, and you can, if you want to, book a call to speak with me directly. But much love to you all. We're all in this fight together and on this journey towards quitting porn for good. So again, subscribe, join the revolution, and let's get the word out. Take care.